Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Hear Our Voices. As you know, we started this new thing with our faces so you can see our expressions and see how things are kind of done on screen. I'm very excited about doing this, to be honest. It wasn't my idea initially, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I'm okay with doing video because I do YouTube, so it doesn't really matter to me. But welcome back. This is your host, Kay Did. And I just want to get some things in the way. Guys, follow us on social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're the most active. Well, I should say I'm the most active on Instagram and TikTok. I don't have a Facebook right now, because of some problems. I got hacked. So my Facebook was taken away and snatched from me. But I do take care, and I do the TikTok also. So that's why it's kind of uploads on there. We're also going to be having a Spanish podcast coming out soon. So if you would like to be a part of that, that'd be great. We're looking for a lot of Spanish speakers because New York and America in general have a lot of Spanish speaking people. I'm trying to represent good enough people who are out there. If you don't know, the population of sheltered people in New York City is the highest are Blacks and the next are Latinos or Latinx, whichever one they prefer at the time. And so we trying to represent a good amount of that. If you don't know, we're based in New York City. If you see on a certain title, it says NYC, that's New York City, depending on where in the world you're watching this podcast from. So that's the kind of things we have right now. So right now, our guest today is Alida, and she's gonna tell you more about herself and how she started, and her story, how she became homeless. She has a very unique story, and I don't know fully her story, to be honest. I don't know fully her story. I tried to, I know for a while. So just be on that, and also she'll tell you what she has for her nonprofit coming up in the podcast also. So Alida, tell us, how did you become, before you became homeless, how did it kind of start out for you?
Thank you, Khadija. Thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you for being
And
on.
like you said, we've known each other for a few years now.
Yes.
And as advocates, right? And that's what we do as an advocate. We bring awareness. We talk about really important topics for prevention and for many other reasons. So I became homeless. It was just part of the life, actually. I lived in another state, and then everything was fine. I had a family, and it was a domestic violence situation that pushed me to flee. And of course, when I had to flee, I had to leave my house behind and everything in my life, basically. So I took off with my little children, and that's how I became homeless here in New York City.
I have a question because a lot of people do listen to me and people on YouTube and things like that. I've never experienced domestic violence, but honestly, you can see it in many different ways. People think it's only like you getting hit. Is many different ways. Can you explain how, if you did you see it right away? What was the signs that you picked up on? Things like that. So to help the people who are listening, they might not even realize they're in a situation that they're in at the time.
Now, the thing about domestic violence is it's really tricky. It's not written on someone's forehead, um, and you might have been in a domestic violence situation, and if you're gonna go through that the second time, it's not going to look the same. If you did, then by now nobody will be a victim of domestic violence a second time, because for me it was a second time.
Oh wow.
It doesn't look the same. There is no sign, there is no profile that you look at and you say, okay, that person is an abuser, or that person, is going to exploit me. So then I'm going to stay away from that person. It doesn't look like this. And like you said, domestic violence has many forms. It can be physical, it can be psychological, which is even the most dangerous, opinion, because it can happen and you don't even realize what's happening to you, right? It can be financial. It has so many other forms. That person can treat you very well, but they take advantage of you. They take your paycheck and they use your social to do whatever they have to do without asking your permission. So it can be many, many things. And that's why you really have to be careful. One of the things that I always said to my clients is the fact that you always have to listen to your guts. And because if I listen to my guts, if I did that a long time ago, I think many things could have been avoided.
Right.
And if anything, if you had a way of living your life, and then all of a sudden that person comes in your life and wants to change everything, and when I say everything, you have to take a minute and think about it, because one of the tactics that abusers use is the fact that they take the prey, if I may say, away from the support. They might take you, put you on the side. Why? Because they can just have more room for coercion to just input what they want in your mind.
Right.
Because if you have a really strong social support, it's going to be really difficult for someone else to manipulate you.
That's true.
Because you're always going to have all those people around you to tell you, oh, you've changed. Oh, this is different. That doesn't look like you. Oh, the leader in you will have said this, but this is weird. This is different. Or why are you doing this? This is, and then without even just judging you, but they might open your eyes without you even realizing that. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, maybe this is wrong. But one of the tactics is the fact that they take all these people away from you, so you don't have any support. So by the time you realize it, you're on your own.
That's
And
true.
when you're on your own, like you realize, and that's really the moment that they take advantage of to really manipulate and do what they have to do. So there is not, I would not say there is like a standard procedure or protocol that you need to follow. I believe that, we really everywhere we hear it, people say love does not hurt. Yes, love should not hurt. Love is a good thing.
Right.
And it should not be complicated. You should not feel threatened. You should not feel scared or some type of way, just, around that person who's supposed to love you or you are supposed to love. The minute you feel like, okay, you are playing like a double game here, or you are not yourself, start questioning yourself. What you doing? What's happening? Are you the same before meeting that person? Yes or no? Just do like an assessment, things like that. But just make sure that if somebody comes in your life in the name of love and they want to take you away from your family, your friends, and all these things because they love you and they want to spend all the time with you,
Right.
stop questioning that, because that's not a healthy relationship.
It's one thing if it's your kid though. Like if they come in your life, you just did your baby, just take care of them. But if it's a person coming in your life who's the same age as you, or older or younger, and they're trying to come for you and just keep you isolated, because that's what happens a lot of times.
Yeah.
You have all these people around you, and all of a sudden you're isolated. You depend on this person because that's the only person you have around you, and that's how they get you.
Yeah.
You're like prey, almost
You are.
kind of thing.
Yeah, to abusers, like, yeah, you are prey. Basically, that's what it is. Yeah. They have a strategy. I mean, you don't become an abuser just, you wake up and you're an abuser. I mean, they have strategies. They have tactics. They have things that they put in place. They take the time to look at the person, and like if it's like a boyfriend or husband, they have been with you for a few times, so they analyze you. They know how you react, what you like, what you don't like, and how strong you are, how weak you are, and then that's what they use. They take their time.
Do you think most abusers know they're abusers? Like, do they know that they are the person hurting other people, even though they see it? Because some people, not everybody, they grew up with this. They grew up with seeing somebody else doing it to somebody else a lot of times, and then they end up doing it as an adult, and they don't realize it's abuse that's happening. You know what I'm saying? So, do you think a lot of them know that they're abusers?
Not all of them, but yes, it has been research have shown that. And if somebody, like, let's say a child was raised in an abusive home or in a violent home, as I don't know the percentage, but there are chances for them as an adult to become violent too. They would just perpetrate and just repeat what they know, what they've seen, which is normal to them, right? Not giving them an excuse here, but this is what it is. Like as a child, you are raised a certain way. Like when you grow up, that's what you do, right? You repeat what you will exactly, because that's what you know. And this is true also for abusers. If you will see statistically, I can't remember, but it's shown that there is a high percentage for people who have been abused at a young age to abuse others when they grow up. Definitely, yeah.
That's crazy. Not we're not trying to, as she said before, trying to give excuses, but sometimes you have to think about also. I'm not saying stay there and take the abuse, but think about hopefully they get help and understand that some of them do come from broken backgrounds.
But this is
Not
what it
everybody
is.
had,
They need to get
yeah,
the help. And then the truth is, in our communities, I'm talking about Black communities, those
right.
topics are still taboo. People
That's
don't
true.
talk about this, right? If you have been exposed to violence and abuse, it's going to affect you one way or the other. And
Right.
if it's not taken care of, it's not addressed, it's going to sit somewhere in your head, and then one day it's going to affect your behavior. You don't even realize that. So therapy in our communities, it's not a good sign. Somebody who goes to therapy, they portray like a crazy person, right?
Right.
Well,
It's true.
better to go to therapy when you still have a chance to handle the issue than not to do anything, because when trauma comes at you, it's just like a DV. It doesn't announce itself.
It's true.
And you can get trapped to the point where you cannot even control what's happening to you. Then you become really crazy.
That is definitely true. So guys, if you need the we're gonna have the number down below in the description box for I want to say it's 1-800 or 166-HOPE. It'll be down there. And also, if you're a person who's listening to this and don't even realize they are an abuser, we'll give you the information for a therapist also, because on both sides it's bad. What you're doing to others is not the right thing to do, and you do need help if you are this person. So let's get back into her story. But I just want to put that out there because I think sometimes we are focused sometimes in October, domestic violence month, if you don't know, and we only focus. I feel like a lot of people, unless you work in that organization, focus only for that time. No, it's 365 days, of the year, and the problem is always happening. It's not only 1 month a thing is happening. We highlight it. It's all the time. This problem is happening, and we need to make sure it's out there for people to listen to. Back to the story, you said you have, I want to say you have 2 children, right? I believe two or
Three.
3 children, and you said you
I have
left
three
your home.
children with me here, but I have 5 children in general. All
Oh,
total. I have
well,
five
I didn't know.
children.
Oh wow,
Five
okay,
children.
you're
Two sets
lucky.
of twins. Thank you.
When you had to basically flee where you were, you said you left your home behind. How did your kids react? I believe they was obviously much younger because time has passed. But did they realize what's happening? Did they see and like what's going on? Did they understand what's like? How did it affect them in general? To be honest.
No, I don't think they realized anything. They were too little.
Oh wow.
Um, they were too little. And then as a survivor, you learn so many things, right? And one of them as a mother is to is just to do your best, to do everything just for your kids not to feel hurt or not to feel anything is wrong, right?
Right.
So in that survival mode, I I was just, the fun, the best mom, for my children not to question anything,
Right.
basically. But I remember the oldest one that she would ask her, when are we going back home? Because
I can't hear you.
but
I
she
can
will
hear you
ask,
now.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't hear you before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No
But
problem.
she asked many times, when are we going home? When are we going back home? Because she knew where we were didn't was not home. It didn't look like home. So
Right.
that at least she could tell the difference. Like everything was different. Like the people she used to see every day were not there anymore. So she wondered. But as far as they didn't ask any question because they didn't understand. I mean, the twin were like 2 years old. So, they were just learning how to talk, and, they're busy in their lives. And so and then they got introduced to schooling. So they went to daycare right away. So I think fun, new things were happening
Right.
in their lives. And so I didn't have to deal with that, thank God. But um, later on, so it's so funny just to say that kids don't forget anything, right?
They don't.
Yeah. And later on, so part of my organization, with my organization, part of our mission, we have this program called
Love Gives. And then what we do a lot of events, but one thing that is really dear to me is the fact that during the holidays, we bless shelters. Because I was blessed when I was in a shelter. I mean, not all the shelters. Let me specify here. The TV shelter, right? Because when I got to the with the regular population, it was something else. But anyway, and I remember even being in the shelter, and I always say that I would like to be able to give back one day. And then and God blessed me with my organization and the great donors that we have every year, people really blessing those families. So we go to shelters. Sometimes it's the same shelter, sometimes like different shelters. And then we go and then we bless those families, right? Parents and children, we do both. And the first time we did that, we went, the first shelter that we really had to bless was the one where we lived. And we lived there for for a while. And my daughter remembered because it was really close to the subway. And then she remembered something about the subway. And then she said, it's like I've been here before.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, really? Why? Why you say that? She said, I remember you carrying the stroller and I was helping you going down the stairs and we did this many times.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, yeah, she remembered. I said, yes, we actually lived here. I was like, in this house? And I said, yes, we did. And then she said, but you said it was a shelter. That's why we're here. And I said, yes. So we lived in a shelter? And I was like, yes. So, and then we had to have like a whole conversation because the little ones now, they like what, 7 years old now? Like, shelter. So I had three young girls looking at me like, huh? Say that to us? I thought we were okay. Shelters is for broken people or anything. So then they start telling me, what they think a shelter is, the reality. Then I had to explain things to them, and we had a conversation. That conversation lasted for like a week, and you just trust me because
they ask a lot of questions. So why this happened?
they went and they came back. Why were we in the shelter?
Right.
And I'm like, I thought I told you that. Yeah, you said that to her. How long were we in the shelter? And what other shelter? Is there anything else that we done or we were and you forget to tell us or something? Or yeah, it was so funny. But like for really like for a week. And then so like I think a year later or 2 years later, one of them came to me and said, Mommy, I was really nice to a girl who came to our class today. She started school today and she lives in a shelter. And then I remember what you always said, and I was really kind to her because she doesn't have a friend, right? So I made myself like a friend to her, and I'm like, "You're amazing. That's what you do."
Right.
And yeah, and so just to tell you, so it stayed, and now they know that being in a shelter doesn't mean that because you are broken or you are poor, like you are nothing good and things like that. Because in society, people pick up so many images. You don't know. I don't even know where they got this image about shelter. We never had that conversation before.
Right.
But they knew enough to tell me that no, shelter is not for good people, and we are good people. And I'm like, what do you mean? We are good, and shelter is not for good people. So at least they learn something. Yeah.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true. Wow.
If it's children, I really definitely get affected. Like, we are.
Hi, thank you for coming this far in the podcast. We are so happy that you are a part of our Hear Our Voices family. If you're a person who would love to be a part of the podcast, either being a resource person or a person that shares your story, we would love to have you. But follow us again on our social media platforms on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we are there constantly updating information. I'm trying to get better at the TikTok stuff, but we are definitely updating all the time on the Instagram page. about work endeavors and activities for families and people in general. So thank you for coming back one more time, and we see you next week. Thank you for being here for season 3 of Hear Our Voices podcast.